welcome. Today we're stepping away from fiction and into, well, something much more real, much more unsettling. We're going to share three true accounts, stories from real people about moments where ordinary life just took a sudden, terrifying turn. Think of it as a look into those dark corners you don't expect, where danger can appear seemingly out of nowhere.
Exactly. And these aren't just scary stories. They highlight how crucial small details, small feelings can be, things we might normally ignore. And the impact these encounters have, well, it stays with people profoundly.
Right. Makes you think about how fragile that sense of safety really is. So let's start. Our first story takes us to Arkansas. A small town, maybe 2,500 people, back in February 1997. The person telling this, they were 13 at the time, knew almost everyone there, It started out like any other night, pretty much, just hanging out with a friend. This friend wanted to go see a girl he liked, so they ended up heading over to another friend's place. But when they got there, the friend wasn't home. It was just his mom's boyfriend's brother, a guy named Richard. And Richard's brother, Alan, was there too. The narrator hadn't really met them before. They were kind of new around. First impression, Richard seemed maybe a bit off, but, harmless enough. He seemed to enjoy having these younger teens, like 13, 14 years old, looking up to him, let them smoke cigarettes, swear a bit, trying to be the cool older guy, I guess.
That dynamic itself can be a subtle warning sign sometimes, an adult seeking validation or attention from much younger teens.
Yeah, and it got much worse. Richard started openly flirting with their friend, the girl who was underage. She got uncomfortable, maybe trying to brush it off, and jokingly said she'd slap him. And he just smiled. Said, go ahead, encouraged her. So she did. Slapped him pretty hard, actually. Left a red mark right on his face.
Yeah.
But he didn't get mad or anything. He just laughed, like a really big laugh.
Yeah.
Told her to do it again. Slapped him again and again until her hand hurt. And he just kept laughing, his face getting brighter red.
That is deeply disturbing behavior. That laughter isn't amusement. It's something else entirely. It's like a total disregard for normal boundaries, almost a enjoyment of the transgression itself. A huge red flag.
Absolutely chilling. And then just a bit later, they're in the living room, and the narrator's friend, the boy, finds a handgun just tucked under the armrest of the couch. He pulls it out, probably excited, like kids are. Richard sees him immediately, crosses the room, takes the gun, looks at them both for a second, then he smiles, takes out the clip, checks the chamber's empty, then he hands the gun back to the kid and says something like, I just want to make sure neither of you hurt anyone with that thing.
Wow. The contradiction there is jarring. One minute he's laughing at being slapped by a minor. The next he's playing the responsible adult about gun safety. It's that kind of switch, that inconsistency that can be really disorienting and mask something much darker. A calculated performance, maybe?
And it was much darker. About a week passes. The narrator sees the local paper, and there on the front page are Richard and his brother, Alan. It turns out, just a couple of weeks before that night at the house, they had murdered a 71-year-old truck driver.
Oh my God.
Before they met the kids. And even more terrifying, just a couple of days after that night, after they let the kids smoke and handled the gun, they kidnapped two young women, raped them, and slit their mother's throat.
Unbelievable.
The mother, somehow, miraculously, she survived, played dead, managed to call the police after they left. That's how they were caught. The narrator said, looking back, he never felt scared that night. Not really threatened, but knowing what those men did just days before and days after, right near where they were, it makes your blood run cold. Thinking about what could have easily happened to them instead of those poor women, how close they were.
It really drives home how danger doesn't always announce itself. It can be sitting right there laughing.
Okay, let's shift to our second story. This one comes from someone who was 10 years old at the time. Living in a pretty typical suburban neighborhood. Their house backed onto several acres of woods, and nearby was a big sledding hill, the kind where all the local kids go.
Yeah.
So one day, it snows. Perfect sledding weather. The child heads over to the hill alone. But when they get there, it's empty. Except for one guy, a young man, just sitting at the very top, not sledding, not doing anything, just looking down over the street below, which seemed odd. Our narrator, being 10 and friendly, walks up and says hi. The man was wearing sunglasses and a hat, even though it wasn't particularly bright. Had this kind of bored look on his face. He asked the kid their name. And the child, already feeling sort of weirded out, just gets this bad feeling, instinctively lies. Says their name is Ryan.
That instinct is important. Children often pick up on subtle cues that something isn't right, even if they can't explain why.
Totally. So, the kid goes sledding. Once, twice, several times down the hill. Each time they climb back up, the man is still there, just watching. Then, after maybe the fifth or sixth run, the man asks, out of nowhere, where do you go to school? The The child gets, like, really bad feelings now. Tries to lie again, names the school, but stutters and kind of changes it mid-sentence. And the man calls them out on it and says, I don't think you go there. Where do you really go?
That's predatory questioning, pushing past boundaries, challenging lies to assert control and gather information. Very concerning.
Yeah, the child just wanted out of there. Said something like, I'm sorry I have to go now. Zipped down the hill one last time and just ran down the street towards home. The man watched them the whole way. Creepy, right? But the kid didn't tell their parents, worried they wouldn't be allowed to go sledding alone anymore.
A common dilemma for kids, unfortunately, balancing fear with the desire for independence.
So a few weeks go by. Then one evening, the parents need to pop out to the store. Just for an hour or so. They leave the child home alone, playing a computer game. Doors locked, everything seems fine. About 30 minutes later, the child hears something. The front doorknob, someone's turning it. No knocking, just trying the door. They check the peephole, nobody there. They figure, maybe I was just hearing things. Parents couldn't be back yet, go back to the game.
That rationalization is common, too, trying to explain away something unsettling.
Right. Now, the layout of the house is important here. Off the computer room, there was a sunroom. It had its own door to the outside with a regular lock. But then there was an interior door connecting the sunroom to the main house, to the computer room. And that interior door had one of those hotel-style sliding bar locks on it, the kind you flip over. So maybe 5 minutes after hearing the front doorknob, the child is back at the computer. Suddenly, that interior door, the one from the sunroom, slams open, hard, but only about 2 inches. It catches on the bar lock.
Thank goodness for that lock.
Seriously. The child screams, runs upstairs like lightning to get their dog, a big German shepherd who was sleeping. They come back down with the dog, and they see it. One of the ROM's painting tools, like a palette knife, being jammed into the gap between the door and the wall. Someone is actively trying to pry open that sliding lock from the sunroom side.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
The dog just goes nuts, barking like crazy, throwing itself against the door, making a huge racket. Then they hear the knife drop on the sunroom floor. The outside door slams shut, footsteps running away. A moment later, they see headlights as a car speeds off down the street. It was too dark to see who it was, what the car looked like. Police came, of course, found the bent palette knife, scrape marks on the lock. But no fingerprints, nothing else. The child refused to be home alone again until they were 17, understandably. And they never knew for sure if it was the same man from the sledding hill. But the fact that whoever it was didn't run when the child screamed, that suggests either they didn't care someone was home, or, maybe worse, they were there because they knew the child was alone.
That's the chilling part, the uncertainty, combined with the targeted nature it implies if it was connected to the hill encounter.
Yeah. Just leaves you wondering what would have happened without that dog, or if that simple bar lock hadn't been flipped.
Okay, one more story for you today. This one involves the narrator's best friend, let's call her Sarah. It happened during her last year of college. Sarah lived off campus in a house with 3 roommates, 2 other girls, and 1 guy. We'll call him David. An important detail. Sarah has diabetes, uses insulin every day, needs syringes. So during her last semester, weird little things start happening. She'd come home, and her bedroom door would be open when she knew she left it closed, or vice versa. Then small things went missing. Some jewelry, an old iPod, a bit of cash from her room. But the most puzzling thing, her insulin syringes. They were running out way, way faster than they should have been based on her daily use.
That's specific. Not just random theft, but something related to her medical supplies. Exactly. At first, she thought maybe she was miscounting, or maybe someone took cash at a party, but the needles didn't make sense. Then one day, she gets home early. A class got canceled. Music is blasting from David's room, like incredibly loud. She goes to knock, asks him to turn it down. His door's locked. He doesn't answer. She gets this weird feeling, uses a bobby pin, manages to jimmy the lock open, and she finds him. Passed out cold on his bed, needle still in his arm, tourniquet belt still wrapped around his bicep.
Wow. So the mystery of the missing items, potentially the needles too, starts to click into place.
Right. He was using heroin. She couldn't wake him, so she did the right thing, called 911.
Yep.
Paramedics came, took him to the hospital. He got out a few days later. Obviously, this was a huge violation of their roommate agreement. They all agreed David had to go. But he pleaded with them. Seemed really ashamed, sorry. Convinced them to just give him 2 weeks to find another place. And Sarah, being a good person, actually felt bad for him, even helped him look up rehab options, tried to be supportive.
That's a very compassionate response in a difficult situation.
Yeah. David seemed grateful. But Sarah told the narrator later he was a damn good actor.
That suggests the remorse might not have been entirely genuine, or at least something else was brewing.
Something absolutely horrific was brewing.
Yeah.
So David finally moves out. A little while later, Sarah goes to take her insulin shot. Opens a pack of what she thinks are brand new sterile syringes. She pulls one out, notices something's off. Usually the plunger's pulled back slightly, to expel air before use. This one wasn't. It was pushed all the way in. Strange. She grabs another one, same thing. Then she grabs the third one. And on the very tip of the needle, she sees it. A tiny, unmistakable red dot. Blood.
Oh, no.
She checks the whole bag she'd opened. Every single syringe. Every single one had a tiny speck of dried blood on in the
Did he use them? He'd used her insulin syringes.
He had. And it gets worse. The very next day, Sarah gets a text message. It's from a friend of David's, someone who was worried and had managed to get her number. The text basically said, "This isn't a joke. Don't tell David I told you. He scares me. Do not use your needles. If you already have, go to a doctor, N now W. He has hepatitis C, and he told me he's going to teach you a lesson you will never forget."
That is pure malice. Weaponizing his own disease, targeting her vulnerability.
He blamed her. Blamed her for finding him for his addiction being exposed.
Yeah.
Decided the lesson would be to intentionally infect her with an incurable disease. The level of calculated cruelty is just staggering. If she hadn't noticed that tiny detail about the plunger, that almost invisible dot of blood.
The consequences are unthinkable. It's not just rage. It's deeply vindictive and targeted abuse.
Yeah. Our narrator said Sarah was just horrified, thinking, what if he just, actually stabbed her with one instead of leaving them like that? It's terrifying. So these three stories, Arkansas, the sledding hill, the roommate, all so different yet. So you see those threads, right? Seemingly normal situations, ordinary places, and then this darkness just surfaces.
Absolutely. The veneer of normalcy is so thin sometimes. And these accounts really hammer home the importance of intuition, that gut feeling. The kid on the hill felt it. Sarah felt something was off before the big reveal. It's a primal warning system.
And it shows how danger doesn't always look like a monster. It can look like a friendly guy, a laughing man, even a roommate you feel sorry for.
Precisely. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about trust, about observation, and about the hidden intentions that people can carry. What if things had gone slightly differently in any of these cases?
It's a chilling thought. And maybe the biggest takeaway is just that heightened awareness, paying attention to those contradictions, those off feelings. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into these really unsettling true encounters. They're stark reminders, aren't they? That the real horror sometimes isn't in movies or books. It's right here in the unexpected moments of real life. We hope listening gives you something to think about. Stay aware, stay safe, and please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs. We'll see you next time.